Ready in the back, ready on the left, ready on the right. All right, we're ready. Good evening, everybody. It is 6:37, September 23rd, 2025. You're in the Common Council for a Common Council of the City of Wausau meeting here at City Hall Council Chambers. Please join me for the Pledge of Allegiance.
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Clerk, call the roll, please.
We have 10 voting members present.
With a quorum present, we have no proclamations tonight. We do have, did we enter that one in, or is that for next time?
That's for next time.
Okay. We did have one we read this week. You'll see it next week, officially. Pre-registered citizens for public comment for matters appearing on the agenda and other comment. We have a few.
Oh. Yep.
You need to make it bigger or make it brighter. All right. I'm just going to read the public comment statement that was approved at the last council meeting. City of Wausau recognizes the value of public comment on local issues and the importance of allowing members of the public to express themselves on city matters. Please identify yourself by name and state your address. Each statement made by a participant should be limited to 3 minutes. Direct all comments to the chair, not to members, staff, or other participants. People addressing the council shall not disrupt the orderly course of business. The chair values civil discourse and may interrupt, terminate, or prohibit public comments that do not adhere to these rules. Got a typo there. All right, first up is Brittany Engman. Did I get that right? Brittany Engman. What's that? This is for Wyatt Street. All right. What? Okay. Dan Barth.
Good evening and thank you. My name is Dan Barth, not a city resident. We live at 206-540 Rabick Lane, Mosinee, Wisconsin. I'd like to thank you all for allowing me to speak to you tonight. I would like to speak in favor of solar panels on the water treatment plant. For one thing, a number of years ago, the city of Wausau approved a resolution in favor of action on climate change. I've been gardening since 1974. I'm an older person. If I were in a different culture, I might be considered an elder. And in those days, and those of us who have been gardening since in those days will know that the killing frost used to hit this part of the state around the 1st of September. It was like clockwork. We have not had frost yet. We will not have frost until sometime in October, and this is happening pretty frequently now. That is a sign of a warming climate. Secondly, I would like to say that my wife and I have had solar panels on our house for the past seven and a half years. We've been driving electric cars for the past 8 years. We do the same things that cities do. But we drive on sunshine instead of on fossil fuels. We mow our lawn on sunshine instead of on fossil fuels. We heat our home during the day with sunshine and cool it during the day with sunshine instead of fossil fuels. I cut my firewood with an electric chainsaw on sunshine, and we've saved an awful lot of money in those 8 years. And I will also say that in those 8 years, what I've done in terms of maintenance to my actually three now, electric vehicles is change 2 sets of tires. That's been the total maintenance cost. if it's good for me, it would be good for the city of Wausau. Thank you for listening to me.
Thank you. Up next is Kathleen Conley Barth.
I'd like to express my appreciation for the, I don't know if you can hear me here, for the Sustainability Committee. I think they're doing wonderful work. I appreciate very much the time that people are putting into finding out more about this. It's not an easy process, but it's really, really important. And we really have to take our responsibility seriously about the world situation with global warming, with climate change. It's not happening so fast that it's like on top of everyone's list of things they have to get done today. But follow this in the news. Find out what's going on. It's really, really important for your children. If you want to attract youth, make sure you do things that show that you care about their future.
Thank you. Okay, last call. Did we get anyone else come in? Or did we miss anyone for public comment? Seeing none, we'll move on to communication recommendations from the mayor. So a while back, 4 years ago, this council adopted a poet laureate, and one of the requirements is that they publish periodic work, and we had hoped to have had it in for the newsletter. Are we having trouble hearing? Sorry.
IT tried to get.
Okay, gotcha. So we had a couple of submissions, so there's a new poet laureate who will be coming on board, and we won't know until the next council meeting, but there were several submissions. Did not meet the cutoff for the newsletter, so one of the submissions did seem to ring true here for some of the things we're going through. Some alders with dissents on issues. I thought I'd read this. This was published by Barry Liss in the Etc. magazine in 2018, Institute of General Semantics, titled Dissent. Forgive my poetry reading skills here, but I'll give it a go. Dissent. A handful of us knelt and cried the day dissent decayed and died. Autopsy of the corpse revealed all moral hierarchies had congealed. Who needs dissent? We all agree. Or pity, pain, anxiety. Gold absent, its holy rule glittered, justice cowered, cruel embittered. We scheduled the wake for noon, and on the funeral plot were strewn the roses and eulogies of dissent's most glorious apogees. Hannah Shaft and Lovejoy, the Mahatma, MLK, Mary Dyer, Bonhoeffer, Mandela, Tycho Brahe, Socrates, Jesus Christ, kids at Tiananmen Square, and many more who share. Dissent immortalized as prayer, awakened the mourner's eyes ignited, newfound zeal found all fears blighted. The righteous path of shame cessation, awesome truth, sacred privation. We shuddered with a sweet elation to heroically defend negation. Dissent she lives, she has arisen to free us from our grisly prison. A handful of us clapped and cheered as ghoulish gargoyles gaped and jeered. Barry Liss. All right, up next is the consent agenda. I'm sorry, we skipped the presentation, which several of you here to give today. We have some members of Sustainability and Energy and Environment Committee here to express support for the solar array at the Wausau Water Treatment Facility and a recommendation of approval of the solar array. So we have Carrie Edmondson. It looks like we have Mr. Kearns.
Hey, folks. Jessica Kern, citizen member of the Sustainability, Energy, and Environmental Committee. I'm wondering, is that Barry List that was the professor here in Wausau?
Indeed it
Oh,
was.
good old Barry. I had him as a professor at one time. Hard to follow, though, I'll tell you that. So our goal today was to kind of bring some attention to the ways that we've been working as a committee and to reoffer ourselves as a point of contact for the council on any of the matters that you guys may be considering when it comes to sustainability, energy, and environmental aspects of our community life. We also wanted to kind of re-register some of the commitments we've made in the past with the greenhouse gas emissions resolution that was made in 2023. Just the three efforts that were put into that: the reducing greenhouse gas emissions for city operations, reducing the burden of city operations to tax levy, and provide resources of residents and businesses. We as a committee feel like this is one of those things that we probably have to revisit once in a while, kind of remind ourselves of that. The deadline being 2050 is a ways out, but I think there's a lot of work that can be done. And if you guys ever need any insights that we can offer, we're happy and we're an available resource to you. One of the things that we've been working on recently is the Soul Smart designation. This is with an organization that more or less honors a designation based on your availability and kind of on your commitment to various aspects of environmental and sustainability within that community. So these things come with, at their outset, the ability for the city to kind of say, this is where a benchmark we are as a city. I think it also is important to think of these things as funding becomes a reality, and these kinds of designations can really lead to positive outcomes if we're seeking funds in the future for different operations. Let's see, community outreach. So in the quarterly newsletter, we usually take up about a page. We've done things like Slow Your Mow, and in the past, obviously, we now have upcoming, we have Leave Your Leaves and Don't Get Salty as kind of a means for us to educate and inform the public on ways that they can act in their homes, in their community, to make sure they're being more mindful of their environment, more mindful of ways they can be sustainable, and keep it on top of mind for citizens. We did recently have a meeting with department heads. The goal of those meetings were to better understand how each of the organizations are approaching sustainability, energy conservation, and things like that from the perspective of each person who heads those departments, because we often don't have a window into those things. So we kind of sat down with them and took note of any ways that we could be a benefit to them and any investigations we can do in order to kind of help them in any of their processes that they have currently or in the future. We do work on an annual sustainability award that we give out each year. In the past, we've given it to the Good News Project and Aspirus Inc. And the effort of that award is to offer recognition for various organizations in Wausau that have shown they have the capability to or commitment to kind of be a leader in the sustainability aspects of their organizations, to minimize waste. There's an annual process where people can apply. And in each of these years, we find this to be of value, at least in theory, to give an organization some free press and hopefully to have that message resonate with the community in a way of saying, we honor these organizations for the work that they're doing. Let's see. So to speak of the solar array project, and I really appreciate the public comment and the willingness for them to kind of put themselves out there personally, we as a committee obviously feel very strongly that we would love to see this project go through. Some of the aspects that we have heard about from various members of the committee who are on the pre-planning portion of this have been really insightful. The opportunity for future gain compared to like short-term financial loss appear to be there. There appear to be speculations on some high value there. I think that I was going to invite Jean up to kind of speak to some of the advantages of the solar array project because she's a little more familiar. And I don't know if Jean, if you want to join me. And this is Jean Abreu. This is our chair.
Hi. Well, I just wanted to thank you for the opportunity to share our committee work with you. We've been really busy and having a pretty good time doing our work. But I'd like to emphasize that the SEEK committee strongly encourages the council to put the water treatment solar array on track for approval and implementation during this budget cycle. Not only does the array fall in line with the greenhouse gas reduction resolution that was passed unanimously in 2023, but the city appointed solar array task force after much study and discussion and lots of community input recommended that the solar array move forward, that it would financially benefit the city. Now, federal dollars will only be available to help fund solar projects if they are under construction by July of 2026. If we don't get the project started this winter, Wausau will miss out on a very important funding source. The solar array will also play an important role in stabilizing energy costs tied to running the treatment plant. Utility rates are projected to continue increasing, and the solar array would help to stabilize the energy costs, which will reduce the need for future water rate increases. So in that way, it would pay off. Moving forward with the solar array is another step towards resiliency and our ability to meet the community's needs of potable drinking water. In the future, batteries could be added to the array, allowing the plant to operate at some capacity should the grid go down. So in conclusion, the SEEK committee fully supports the installation of the solar array at the water treatment plant, and we identify this as a project with strong priority for the upcoming budget cycle because it's a forward-facing and fiscally responsible next step, giving the city more options for meeting the needs of the residents. So please give this project strong support in the upcoming budgetary process. Thank you. And if you have any questions for us?
Thank you, Jean.
Carol?
Anyone? Alder Killian.
You mentioned we would miss out on funding. How much funding is there available? Do you know?
Well, I was able to get the tax credit for my own solar panels that I put in, and I got 30%. But I believe we may qualify for more.
And I think we have actually been in conversations with Eric Lindman, who's shown up to a couple of our meetings as well. I believe he has a full breakdown of the details on available funding, and including what is possible to obtain, and also I think what is the limit on that as well. Unfortunately, I don't have the numbers either.
My question might have been premature.
No, I think the numbers exist, and I think that in the project planning, they're pretty well laid out. And we as a committee oftentimes create a passage for people to connect, and we're happy to do that. But when it comes to the crunching of numbers, we get a little fearful.
Thank you.
So yeah, so that was, in a nutshell, we wanted to just kind of remind you guys that we do exist, and that we're hoping that if there's ever a conversation that you're having that pertains to environmental sustainability in Wausau, that you know that we're here at your disposal, and we're happy to be a voice for you in the public as well.
Looks like we have one more question. Alder Lukens.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Sorry, Carol.
So I don't so much have a question, but I want to say, as the council member who is also on the Sustainability, Energy, and the Environment Committee, I'm very proud to serve on that committee. I actually wanted to serve on it before I became a council member, so I had to become one in order. No, I'm joking. But anyway, it really is a dynamic group of residents, like so dedicated and committed. And Carrie Edmondson, thank you so much too for your help. And the solar array, I know with the budget cycle coming up, we want to be so careful with that, but with the money running out, with the funding running out, I mean, in time, this could save so much. And I know none of us want to have to continue to announce water rate increases. So I just want to echo what they've said and encourage, the council when the talks come to please really seriously give this your most serious consideration. And again, I just, such a shout out because at every meeting, I mean, there's a lot that's been taking place in so many different ways, education for the community and trying to save money and, so, feel free to attend a SEEK meeting if you ever, are interested because it's really great, positive, fun, but also, lots of people doing, or a small group of people doing a lot of work. So just wanted to thank you and highlight that too.
Yeah, we know that this is not one of those topics that's easy to come to. It's one of those topics that's kind of an overbearing cloud around us sometimes. Environmental changes, sustainability, they're not cheap fixes, and oftentimes they're not necessarily popular, but they are something that we really feel like we need to be committed to as a city. And we encourage you to act in any way you can to foster that relationship with the world. So, thank you all.
Thank you. All right, up next is consent, and I had a request to pull one item, and that is 92-1009, the resolution approving the solid waste and recyclable contract. Is it ready? Is it ready? Okay, so we're voting on consent. I've got a motion from Watson, second from Rasmussen, on consent less that one item that the clerk has removed. Trouble?
Alder Martins, did you intend to amend the, okay. Okay, so I'm gonna press vote, so then you should be able to see your voting screen. How would you like to vote for this? You're, okay. Alder Neal, are you able to? Are you able to vote? No. Okay. How would you like to vote on the consent agenda? Aye. And Alder McElhaney? How would you like? And Alder Larson? How would you like to vote on the consent agenda?
Aye. I'm not working either. Oh, now I am.
Motion passes 9-1.
Okay, we'll take that first item that was pulled. That's 92-1009. It's Public Health and Safety Resolution approving the award of a contract for solid waste and recyclable collection services to Harder's Fox Valley Disposal, Inc. It was approved 4-0 at Public Health and Safety. I have a motion from Rasmussen, second from Watson. Comments, questions? Do we want to set up that? You want to talk to it?
You ready to call?
We're ready to vote.
You may begin voting. Alder Neal, how would you like to vote? Alder McElhaney? Motion passes 10-0.
All right, next up is file number 25-0914. It's an economic development resolution approving the sale of city-owned property at 208 to 214 Wyatt Street to Mr. Troy Engman. Motion from Larson, second from Lukens. Mr. Larson.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I will be supporting this. This is in my district. I've spoken with the person, with Mr. Engman. He's a former resident who wants to get back in the neighborhood. He's going to build a single-family home there. And this is probably exactly what the neighborhood has been asking for all along. So I will be supporting this. Thank you.
Thank you, Alder Tierney.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. When this was up before us, we had talked about the pricing of that lot and what the assessment was on it, and to relook at that purchase price. And I was just wondering if that had happened, if anybody had checked into that further, or what the Thank you, Randy.
Go ahead, Randy.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Yeah, we did reach out to Mr. Engman, and he chose not to change his offer price.
Alder Killian.
Also,
Oh,
at
did I miss-
the previous meeting in this regard, I questioned whether the $3,500 purchase price on this property was adequate. I did suggest that we try to have a $19,000 purchase price, which would have made the city whole as far as the money the city spent on that property. And it was not in agreement with me. I am not going to support this simply because I feel that the value of that lot, which is 3 combined city lots, is not adequate. I'm happy that the gentleman will be able to live closer to his family and so forth. But for me, it's time that the city start taking a closer look at some of our financial spending. And maybe, a few $1,000s isn't a lot, but if we don't start looking at a few $1,000s and consider, some of the things that we're doing that are larger dollars, I don't think our budget is ever going to be what it needs to be, so I'm not going to support this. Thank you.
Thank you. Alder Tierney, were you still in? Okay. Alder Watson.
So I was reading through the minutes on the discussion here, and I liked how Alder Hinkie mentioned, sort of giving a resident, a citizen, a helping hand as well for this instead of making them pay, fair market value or whatever. But Randy, I was also curious, how long have we had this property in the city coffers?
It feels like a lifetime of mine,
It
but I
does,
believe
it
it was
does.
over 20 years.
Okay,
But
so-
it's been a long time.
It's been a long time, and I guess as my economist mind is saying, okay, that $19,000 or whatever we invested in the property is sort of a sunk cost. We want to move forward and make this something that's beautiful for the community, and also can house a person and a family. It sounds like near their family, which is pretty cool. So I totally will be on board with this. And I guess my only other question was, in reading the minutes, it looked like we also wanted to make sure we had a DNR sign off that we wouldn't be responsible for the remediation. And I just wanted to, I was trying to find that in there. And it,
Yeah. So in the second whereas, you'll see that we have reached final case closure with continuing obligations from the DNR. Tammy did work with Kevin Fable to confirm that. So just like any other property where we've gone through that process, that'll go on through the process of construction. They'll have to have a soil management plan working with that to ensure that they're staying in compliance with that. But we are able to sell the property.
So I think that's pretty awesome that the person's willing to take on that huge, it's a huge responsibility. And I think it's amazing to be able to clean that area up for the community. So I think it's an awesome opportunity. I'm glad that somebody stepped up and wanted that land, and I'm very happy to vote for it. Thank you.
Thank you. Alder Rasmussen.
Thank you. I'm also supporting this project. I think that it's a great land use. I think that the home will be an asset to the neighborhood. The site has known significant challenges. We were very clear on that from the beginning. It's been a really long time since this property has generated revenue for us. And, for those of us who hope that at some point the city will own fewer parcels, and that the parcels that we choose to let go generate some revenue for us and, put those back on the tax rolls, that's a positive. And I also think that I also appreciated the comments that were made in the committee about this being an opportunity for us to help, just anyone. I mean, it really, there's been a lot of criticism that we tend to incentivize large projects and large developers, and this is not that. It's a single-family home that'll be an asset to a neighborhood that needs something to happen on that site. And so I intend to support it also. Thank you.
Thank you. Alder McElhaney.
Thank you. I just have a couple questions because I want to make sure. Sorry for Tom. So the prospective owner will be responsible for remediation and for getting having that out of the flood zone, correct?
Yeah, I wouldn't necessarily say remediation at this point. They just need to follow what was done as part of that final closure letter and the continuing obligations, mostly soil management.
So, but there's nothing coming back to the city?
No.
And then how about the flood zone? That would
Yep,
be...
that's a requirement of construction, so they'll need to work with, so there's a couple different processes in here, just based on the size of the garage. They need to go to the building advisory committee
Yeah.
to get approval on that, but also through the building process, they'll need to meet the floodplain requirements, and that'll be handled through inspections.
Okay, perfect. I just needed to clarify. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Neal.
Thank you. Just to be clear, the remediation type question, really, since this residence is going to be built on a slab, over the soil rather than removing soil, it's very minimal, any work that has to be done on this. So, I mean, it's a pretty much a no problem kind of deal.
Thank you. Seeing nothing further,
You may begin voting. Alder Neal, how would you like to vote?
I vote aye.
Motion passes 9-1.
up next, file 25-0922. It's an HR resolution approving amendment to the Employee Handbook, Section 5.15, of the clothing and equipment section to remove up to 50% of the safety boot reimbursement. That passed 3-2. Motion from Lukens, second from Watson. Discussion, questions? Seeing none?
You may begin voting. Alder Neal.
Aye.
Motion passes 8-2.
Up next, file 25-0926. This is a joint economic development finance resolution approving an offer to purchase property at 201 North First Avenue. It was approved 3-1 at economic development, 4-0 at finance. Motion is from Lucan, second from Rasmussen. Alder Tierney.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. My concern is that in discussions we had talked about development on this spot, and we talked about the possibilities of development. And one of those possibilities was perhaps in low-income situation. And my concern is that we would be paying $900,000 for this piece of property, another approximately $250,000 for remediation. And if we would be looking at low income, we would again be selling another piece of property for $1 so that they could be able to get those breaks that they need to not go in the hole on this. People have told us left and right, all over the place, that they are tired of watching the city sell land for $1. Land that we would look at spending almost $1 million for, another $250,000 remediating. And I have to agree with that. I cannot see spending over $1 million and potentially selling it for a dollar to a developer for that. And we have a lot of projects right now on the table. So for that reason, I simply cannot support this. Thank you.
Thank you. Alder Neal.
Thank you. Well, obviously, there's a number of questions about this, pro and con. People have concerns, and people are rooting for it and rooting against it and whatnot. I just want to say that I thank Randy and his staff for putting together a proposal that I think really covers all the points. It makes a really good argument for why the city should strategically look at this as a development opportunity in a very important location for us, i.e. Near downtown on the river, with the opportunity to extend the river walkway too, right along there. And that is a gap in the trail right now that it sure would be nice to fill that up. Another strategic step in our vision for the city. That being said, so I think if anybody has concerns, questions, just look at that proposal and look at every point made on it. And I think there's a chance you might walk away going, this could be a good idea. So I'm supporting this. Thank you.
Thank you. Alder Larson.
Me?
Yes, sir.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I will not be supporting this. I'm going to echo to what Alder Tierney said. There's just too much money involved here. 900,000 purchase, remediation, and what Alder Tierney didn't mention was the cost of probably tearing it down and then potentially selling it from $1 to $400,000 to a developer. We've got enough land we need to that's been just sitting there idle that we really need to develop. We don't at this point need to put another one on the pile, so to speak. I really think, there's if you really want to extend that River Life Trail, then perhaps maybe you need to look at some, at leasing it or just buying a portion of it. But there's too many other needs of this city right now to be able, that needs to be prioritized over spending millions and millions of dollars on another piece of property just so it can sit idle. And another reason is there's no plan for this. There is absolutely no plan for this, and so that just tells me that it's just going to lay there stagnant like all the others. Thank you.
Thank you. Alder Watson.
So I'd like to piggyback on what Alder Neal mentioned. I think Randy put out a really awesome memo sort of aligning this purchase with our strategic plan, which is has a lot of really forward-looking things for our community. I also appreciate how the purchase is going to be funded through TID, correct? So I didn't know, and maybe I should have prepped Randy for this. Is there a way to sort of explain how that is going to be used, the funding from the TID to purchase this? So it's not coming out of our budget right now. We're not doing it in 2026.
I could give you the answer, but I'm sure Mary Ann could do a whole lot better than me.
Yeah.
Well, so it was included in the 2025 budget as a purchase. We had in the 25 budget put debt issuance as the funding source. Obviously, we already did our borrowing for 25 because we had two projects that we were still waiting on when we went to market. This project and the demolition of the water plant, which is still in the process of putting numbers together. And because of potential private use of this property, there was some likelihood that both of those parcels we would want to consider taxable issue and not tax exempt. So that would have given us reason to issue a separate note anyhow. So, when I'm looking at the cash flow right now, it looks like we would be able to most likely absorb this in the cash flow of the district or most of it without issuing additional debt or
a smaller incremental amount of debt, depending on where some of the other projects come through. But if we did, it would be most likely not for the full amount, and we could have an expedited repayment schedule to minimize our interest payment costs. But we haven't, really gone through and looked at that. Typically we would consider that at borrowing, and like I said, we wouldn't do that until 2026 when once the water plant is known and once, just from a timing standpoint.
And just to piggyback on that, one of the things I've been looking at over the last couple of weeks is grant opportunities and funding. Anytime we can find state and federal money to offset some of these costs, specifically WEDC has some programs for site assessment that would be eligible for not only demolition, but the environmental costs as well. So there's opportunities that even though we're looking at these costs, especially the environmental cleanup, I feel very strongly that we'll be able to find some funding either through EPA or WEDC or through DNR that we'll be able to capture a lot of that. And at the end result, we're going to have a clean property. That's something to be said for that as well. So thank you.
Yeah, definitely. And I would say that the cleaning up of the property is key. I think that's awesome. And then we can also have a west side. I don't know, I'm partial to the west side. So it would be nice to have a little bit inclusion in the river life fun having that the east side's having. So I think this is a good opportunity for us to grow on that side and just even create more places that people can recreate, more places to live. I mean, we're getting closer to that gap, that we saw in our residential needs assessment. And I think we're getting close, but this could help put us over that edge. And for concern about giving away this property to future developers, I think we can just be diligent with that, right? We're the council, we can vote to, vote what we would like to release those properties to developers at. So, I mean, if we don't want them sold for $1, we don't have to have them sold for $1. So I think taking in that control, it gives us a little more control over what that looks like. So thank you, Randy and Marion.
Thank you. Alder Rasmussen.
Thank you. I'm intending to support this as well. I think this property has been blighted for years. The land is certainly not right now at its highest and best use. And blight remediation is one of the key and core founding principles of what TID is intended to do. Remediate blight and take property that's underused and undervalued and create something that brings that higher and better use and brings that additional tax base and that additional increment. That is one of the founding principles of what TID was intended for in Wisconsin. So this makes that case. This also significantly reduces the cost of our trail construction by alleviating the need to cantilever that trail out over the water, which is not only expensive but dangerous to maintain. Putting that up on the land surface is really going to significantly decrease our costs on the trail. The fact that we potentially have enough increment already existing in the TID to fund all or most of this process, per Mary Ann's comments, is also a plus. But I think that, there's already early interest in this parcel. We know that. And, whether this becomes affordable housing or mixed use or both, that is something that is a key and fundamental need in our community. We are lacking housing. We know that we're lacking or short on housing at all price point levels. And we shouldn't be building all of one and none of another. We should be building some of all. And we really have been working hard to make sure that we're getting new units in all those pricing tiers. And, if we are intending to meet our goals and our benchmarks for affordable housing, we are going to need parcels to do that on. And so this one could be when you drive over there and you look at this parcel, it could be so much more than it is today. And this parcel has been what it looks like right now for my entire lifetime. It's been an industrial use, and it really, I would say in the last 30 years, has really been blighted. So I think to see that site turn around, obviously, like Alder Watson said, we control what that sale price is when a future development is in front of us. Depending on how that property scores for LIHTC credits for housing, there's no guarantee that any property has to be sold for $1. That's a choice that might be on the table and it might not. But we would make those decisions at a future date. But if we can't have that parcel to offer up and redevelop to really get it to be something more than it is today, we're missing a serious opportunity. So I will be supporting this. Thanks.
Thank you. Alder Lukens.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I would like to address the property being sold for $1 discussion, because this has come up before, and it's, I think it's really important for the public to understand where that comes from. As Alder Rasmussen was just explaining, depending upon the credit. So for a contractor that's going to build something, especially if it's more affordable or low income housing, they depend upon, or they try to qualify for tax credits, because that allows them to be able to afford to build it. So when, with one of the past developments, I think the one I'm first at. So yes, the property was sold for $1, but that was done because in order to get the tax credits, that's what the contractor needed. However, I think what is lost in these conversations, it's not simply that the city's selling it for $1. The city's responsibility was for demolition of the property, which was a big cost. And so the contractor took on that cost instead. So I really want to make that clear, because I hear this and read this reported where the city isn't going around just selling property for $1. There's more to it. And I don't know, how much that was, but I think it was a pretty substantial cost for demolition of that property. So I agree with Alder Watson that this is part of the, city's strategic plan. I want to thank Mr. Pfeifferich and your team for all of your work on this. I will be voting in favor of this because I do agree with getting industry off of the river. I would love to see, another purpose for that, as well as the continuation of the trail, because as one of the public commenters tonight said, if our generations that follow, our children, if we care about them, we need to make decisions that are in their interests. And if we want Wausau to be a vibrant community, we really need to look at creating the opportunities that people are looking for. And young people, and not just the young people, but many people. We have an aging population as well that need to be able to have, places to walk or get by that might not always include driving. So anyway, for a whole number of reasons, I do support this. I will be voting for this, but please consider, I really would encourage us to really be careful about when we say the city is selling property for $1, because there's always more that goes along with that. And anyway, so thank you.
Thank you. Alder Killian.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I just have a very brief comment to make. I agree with Alder Larson that we are looking to purchase a property in the hopes of getting a good development. This is not saying that Director Pfeifferich has not done a remarkable job in what he's done and in all his hard work. However, we currently own multiple properties that need remediation. And as I said on a previous agenda item, it's time for the city to start looking at what we need and not what we want. Our residents are struggling. We don't need to keep spending money on things that we want and that we hope will benefit us. So I can't support spending $1 million now on something that might come to fruition and be a positive for our city. I want to continue to be supportive of the things that our residents need and that will benefit our residents, so I am not going to support this. Thank you.
Thank you. Alder Lukens.
Thank you again, Mr. Mayor. There was one thing I forgot to mention, and that is that municipalities are often in the unique situation of obtaining grants for remediation. So one more reason that I am supporting this, and I would love to see development go in for housing at some point that would be something more affordable. And on the west side, I think we could use some on the west side as well. And as long as I can remember, it's been a blighted piece of property. So thank you.
Thank you. Seeing nothing further.
You may begin voting. Alder Neal,
Aye.
Alder McElhaney. Motion passes 6-4.
Thank you. Up next is suspension of the rules under 6B, filing and/or 12A, referral of resolutions. This requires a 2/3 vote. Motion from Watson, second from Rasmussen.
You may begin voting. Alder
Aye.
Alder McElhaney. Motion passes 10-0.
Okay, that item was passed tonight from Finance, and it came from Airport as well. So it's a joint resolution 250925 from Airport Committee and Finance, authorizing the execution of airport ground lease for Mike Yankiadis, approved 4-0 in Airport. And tonight I didn't see the vote. Mike, what was that? Okay, 5-0. 4-0 in Finance. Okay, we have a motion from Rasmussen, second from Martins. Alder Rasmussen.
Thank you. Just want to thank everyone for being willing to suspend the rules to take this up. This is a standard ground lease like we have for all the other hangar construction at the airport, but this does allow this hangar to get underway, and the season is drawing short. So thank you, everyone, for that consideration.
Anything further? Seeing none?
You may begin voting. Alder Neal,
Aye.
Alder McElhaney. Motion passes 10-0.
Up next, public comment and suggestions. Anyone hanging out for that? Seeing none, I would entertain a motion to adjourn. Killian, Neal, all in favor? See you later.